Hello again and welcome back to my shop. Today is May the 4th, and you know what that means, Star Wars Day. A number of woodworkers have gotten together to do a fun little collaboration. We're each making a Star Wars themed project. So once you're done watching my video, check down in the description for a list of links to all of the other videos that were produced in this collaboration. My boys and I are huge Star Wars fans. We cannot wait for the movie to be released this December. I always tell them that they're my Padawans and I am the Jedi Master. It drives them crazy because they consider themselves to be Jedis. So I thought what I would do today is make a little something to hang in their playroom. I'm going to make the insignia of the Jedi Order. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. I started my project by jointing then planing a Paduk and an aspen board down to a thickness of about 1/2 of an inch. Next, I cut each of the boards to a length of 7 inches. These boards are 3 3/4 inches across. My glue is dry, and now I've got a nice roughly 7 by 7 block of Paduk as well as aspen. I've cleaned up any squeeze out on the face and did just a light sanding to smooth it out. You'll also notice that I've found the center and made a nice 7-inch circle around the Paduk blank. What I'm going to do is use a little double-faced tape. I'm going to tape these two pieces together. Then we're going to attach our scroll saw pattern, and I'm going to go over to the scroll saw and cut this pattern out of the two blanks. Before I head over to the scroll saw, I'd like to point out a few things I did to prepare this blank. Before cutting off the corners on the bandsaw, I found the center of the blank and drew a roughly 2-inch circle. It's a little larger than my block that I'm going to glue to it, but this will allow me to register this block in the center of this blank before I take it to the lathe. I also, you can probably notice it better on this side, drilled a 1/16 inch blade starter hole completely through the blank at the tip of the emblem. That'll be my starting point, and I'm just going to basically cut this entire thing out of both pieces of wood. There we go. This carpet tape is some stout stuff. It really gets a grip. Better lay that way. And that was all it took, was just to nick that little piece, and she's ready to slide out. Nice and easy so we don't break anything. All right, now we want to clean this up, and then we're going to inset this piece and glue it into the aspen backer. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I had a little trouble cutting it out because it was 1 inch thick, and my blade would tend to, the blades on a scroll saw are so thin it would tend to cut at a bit of an angle. I tried to cut slow. I have a bit of a gap here and here that I'm going to have to fill. I need to go ahead now and get this block glued on here so that I can handle this on the lathe. The block will just basically be gripped in the chuck like that, and the plaque will be glued to it, and I'll be able to spin it and turn it down and clean it up. First thing I want to do is go ahead and get this trued up, get it into round, and then we'll come back and take care of the surface. I've got the speed of my lathe set as slow as it will go. I'm not sure what the RPMs is for these Harbor Freight lathes, but it's the slowest setting, so I may speed it up as I go. I just don't want to start too fast and have a problem right off the bat. What I want to do now is just basically clean up the surface. This is new for me. I've got this 1/2 inch bowl gouge I've had for a while, and I've never used it. But I've watched a lot of guys, basically rake across the surface with their bowl gouge and clean things up. So I thought I would give it a try. I'm still running at my slowest setting. Haven't sped things up yet, but I'm happy with the progress I'm making, so we're going to stay that way. So let's see how this works. Keep your fingers crossed I don't have an issue. I was using a new tool. Most likely I was using that tool incorrectly, and I got myself a catch. I was able to find all of my pieces, and you can see right here is where I got the catch, and it just basically ripped everything apart. Since I have all the pieces, and except for the top part of this where it tore it up, but I'm planning on taking that down like to make it convex, so I'm not overly concerned about what I lost there. I think I'm going to try to get this all glued back together, and once I get it glued up, I think I'm going to go back to the lathe and probably go to a tool that I'm a little more comfortable with to see if I can salvage this project. Well, I've got her glued back up. I'm going to let her set probably overnight and get good and dry. The strap that I'm using, this is all I could find to strap this. This is a suitcase luggage strap, and what this is used for is you put it around a suitcase when you're traveling, and that way if the suitcase gets dropped or thrown around kind of roughly, it doesn't pop open. This keeps it closed. It's the only thing I could find to really seal all the way around this plaque. So we're going to let it dry. Then I'm going to get it back on the lathe, and we're going to attempt to turn it again with some tools that we're just a little more comfortable with this time. So hate that this happened, but you know what? I got to learn sometimes. I got my blank put back together. You can see where I glued it up. I glued an 1/8 inch piece of Baltic birch on the back to give it a little bit of stability and to also give me something to, a second dimension to glue to. It's a little bit off balance. I'm going to clean up the outside, and then I'm going to come back and try to start turning the sides of this down, what I initially started to do when it exploded. Well, after the first initial blowout, putting everything back together, the smartest thing that I did was put this 1/8 inch backer board on here. It doesn't show, and it really solidified, made this thing nice and solid. It turned very well the second time around. I'm happy with how it looks. I'm going to go ahead now do some sanding. There's a little bit of rough area right up in here. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera, but I'm going to sand that out. I think the aspen's very soft. I think it'll sand up really nicely, and then we'll get a finish on it. I'm really happy with how this is sanding up. Aspen is a soft wood, and any of the little rough spots, they're darn near gone. It looks amazing. I've only been sanding with the 120 grit. You can barely see the glue lines where I glued it back together, which I'm happy about. And since it's starting to look so good, the one thing that I'm unhappy about is, and it's probably hard to see in the video, but there are a couple of little gaps where the Padauk meets the aspen. What I think I'm going to do is take this off the lathe, and I'm going to clean these out with my Dremel tool, and then I'm going to come back and find something, and I'm not sure what yet, but something to fill this gap that I'll clean out all the way around this thing with. And once I get that filled, I'll get it back on the lathe, we'll clean it up one more time, and then we'll go ahead, finish sanding, and get a finish on it. Here's my plan for filling that gap between the aspen and the Padauk. I've made some walnut dust. I just took a piece of walnut and rubbed it on some 60 grit sandpaper to produce the dust. I'm filling the gap all the way around the plaque with the walnut dust. I'll come back and I'll just drop a dot of CA glue all along this dust, and what that will do is I'll shoot it with some accelerator and it will solidify the dust, and then I can put it back on the lathe and turn and sand this away, and it should leave a nice little filler between these two pieces of wood. I really hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you really like the project, share it with your friends so they can enjoy it too. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I invite you to click that subscribe button down below, and all of my future videos will be delivered directly to your YouTube feed. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below and I'll respond. Remember, this is a collaboration, so be sure to check out all the links below to see what your favorite YouTube woodworkers have in store for Star Wars Day. Have a great evening, and remember, you are always welcome in my shop, and oh yeah, may the 4th be with you.